right. It's a little chilly. Okay. We are live from Occupy City. Oh, it's a little crooked too, huh? There we go. There we go. All right, we are coming live from Occupy City Hall in Rockford, Illinois. Anybody that is watching this, please share this video. Please share this video. What's up, Ricky? Please share this video. Anybody watching this, please share this video. We made this statement about I don't know, maybe about 2-3 weeks ago that we were going to make sure that we were releasing more content on a regular basis on the social media pages, and we have continued to try to stand by that. What's up? Who is that? Oh, Nicole. What's up, Nicole? We've continued to try to stand by that, and so here we are again tonight. I wish we could have got it a little bit earlier today, Sunday, but we're trying to get a lot of things moving with the city market starting on Fridays regularly now. We always on a very tight time constraint, so we got to this live a little bit later tonight. But we are going to continue to regularly, every day, try to put out at least one live on a social media platform. We still have the May 30th Alliance podcast that's coming out on a regular basis. We're still uploading videos from Facebook to YouTube on a regular basis. And we're still updating the Twitter thread on a regular basis, and we're still putting other videos up on the Facebook page on a regular basis. Especially on Fridays, you can expect a lot of videos to be coming up on the Facebook page. So again, I just say all those things to say that that is the reason in which we are doing more of these lives and having more of these conversations and having more of this content up. It is to try to, or the reason that we are trying to do it is to try to negate the middleman, negate needing WREX or WIFR or R-Star or any common other new media outlet to get the information to people or to disseminate our message to people. And we're trying to do it ourselves. Not that we have any issues with those platforms. We understand that everybody has to play their part in this. And so our part is to try to get the message directly to the people so there can be no misinformation or no false narratives being pushed. So before we start getting deep into this, into some of the topics and some of the dialogue in this live, I want to say justice for Denzel Duvant. If you are watching this video, please share this video and you can hashtag it Justice for Denzel. What's up, Patricia? You can hashtag it Justice for Denzel. This is Denzel Duvant. He was beat at the hands of the Rockford Police Department in Rockford, Illinois on January 5th of 2021, not 2015 or 2010 or 2000 or 1995. This is a picture of a man who was beat while handcuffed by the Rockford Police Department in 2021 in Rockford, Illinois. So, justice for Denzel. I want to start out by saying justice for Denzel. This is Jose Gonzalez Jr. He was shot on April 11th, 2021. Not April 11th, 2010 or 2005 or 1995, but April 11th of 2021 by the Rockford Police Department. He was shot while he was running away, a 19-year-old young man whose life was not valued by the police department because of his skin color. Because of his nationality, because of who his parents were and who his grandparents were. His life was devalued, and so him running meant that his life was now expendable, and he was shot while running away. And so I want to say justice for Jose Gonzalez Jr. If you sharing this and you need a hashtag justice for Jose. If you want to know which things you can do to be active from the place that you exist, tonight spend 30 minutes going through comments from local news stations or going through comments from Billboard or CBS or movie state, whatever. Go through somebody's Facebook page in the comments and leave justice for Jose. Leave justice for Faustin. They'll figure out what it's about. They'll figure out what it's for. And so justice for Jose. And then I want to say this is another victim from 2021. I want to say justice for Faustin. Justice for Faustin Guaitigo. Faustin Guaitigo, who was murdered on April 10th, 2021 inside of his home by the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies who, because he did not lay down his life, because he did not surrender his life, because he stood tall. He stood tall as inside of his own home. People have tried to use that as a weapon against him. People have tried to use that as justification for him being murdered. And so I want to say justice for Faustin. If you sharing this and you need something to title it, you can title it Justice for Faustin, Justice for Jose, Justice for Denzel. And again, Faustin Guaitigo was killed April 10th by the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies. Faustin Guaitigo and Jose Gonzalez Jr. both currently have pending investigations, ongoing investigations by the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force, which investigates police-involved shootings and in-custody deaths. And it should be known that they have never, in the 11 years of their existence, they have never found any shooting or in-custody death to not be justifiable. That is the type of corruption that we are dealing with. So justice for Faustin. And we don't have a sign here at the right now, but everybody knows, anybody who's been paying attention at least knows, the reasons that we first came out here and initially came out here was because Tyrus Jones was shot while he was running away. Because of some of the nature of things surrounding Tyrus Jones, there has been a lack of what I believe to be the proper empathy and the proper outcry from the community over what it was that happened to this young man. But we want to say also justice for Tyrus Jones, justice for Tyrus. So if you need something to share, we go through and we speak about those 4 different events and those 4 different incidents, because one of the things we want to take into account here is we aren't trying to. In some aspects, we are trying to definitely change people's consciousness, change people's thought patterns, change people's belief patterns. But it's also important to note that we have to understand how people's minds works, how people's emotions work, and how people's empathy works. And how they work is sometimes what happens to person A does not draw empathy from you. What happens to person B does not draw empathy from you. But what happens to person C may. What happens to person, and then for a different set of people, it may be someone different who the empathy is drawn from. And so that is why we point out what happened to Tyrus Jones, why we point out what happened to Denzel Duvant, to Jose Gonzalez Jr., and to Faustin Guaitigo separately, so that way separately each incident can stand on its own merit, and people can decide which one of those things that they can have empathy for. And then once they have tapped into that empathy for that individual incident, we can show them how these things are collective issues, how all of these issues are interconnected with each other, and then we can begin the process of them tapping into the empathy for each one of these victims. So again, justice for Tyrus, justice for Jose, justice for Faustin, and justice for Denzel. Okay, and so then after that, on that note, and again, if you're watching this, please share this video. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to introduce another, and this is something that we've done a few times here. I want to introduce another member of the May 30th Alliance. We I think a couple of weeks ago we had Rabbit on, and Rabbit, another member. Rabbit also is a member of the May 30th Alliance. Me and Rabbit had a live where we spoke and had some dialogue, and so I want to introduce another member of the May 30th Alliance now. I'll let him introduce himself and do some speaking, and then we will begin having a dialogue and a conversation about some of the events that took place this Friday at City Market, some of the events that took place yesterday and today, and about going forward in the city of Rockford, Illinois. Yeah, I'm going to pass this over to you so that way it can be right on you, know, you can get in your bag.
I'm sure many people didn't expect me to speak, judging by some of the comments that I read after a lot of the press conferences last year. Some people thought I was hired security, other people thought I was a new Black Panther Party member,
Yeah.
Other people thought I was black militia. The point to all of it was to get involved on a personal level. I took a personal investment, got involved. This is the first time I'm actually officially speaking.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken in a year under any context, really, as far as any lives, social media. There's no leverage or gain that I'm looking for out of this on a personal level, and that's why I did it. It's not about me. It's not about anything personal that I'm trying to garner. I'm not looking for any political favors. I'm not looking for a political clout. I'm not looking for handouts. And I'm definitely not looking to be bought by anybody. I did take a very personal stance with this movement and with yourself as well as Terry, and right away got involved. Again, I go by K. For those that don't know who I am, I usually wear all black. I stay consistent with the all black, and the psychology of it is a lot of people understand. I'm not trying to hide from the police, the sheriff's department, parks department. I wear all black. If they ever wanted to look for me, they could just look in the crowd. I'm always in all black. I wear no masks as far as to obscure my face. The masks are not for fear or retribution to me personally. The mask that I wear is because I place myself between protesters and white supremacists, white nationalists, bigots, racists, prejudiced people. And because they have their own feelings that they're adamant about, I place myself, in many instances, there were many instances where I placed myself between protesters and these individuals.
Right.
And some people would say, why would you do that? Honestly, it's because the police never did.
Which is let me interject here real quick. And now that we've got Kay introducing himself here, we'll start having a little bit of back and forth dialogue. We got to work on getting some multiple mics out here. That's one of the things that we've been talking about. And I guess I should say this in the midst of doing this too. Please donate to the May 30th Alliance Cash App. The Cash App is $ May 30th Alliance. You can also donate at Venmo and PayPal, which is May 30th Alliance at protonmail.com. You can also on City Market on Fridays, we'll have donation bins. You can donate there too. Food Truck Tuesdays, we're out at Nichols Conservatory. If you want to do a donation in person, you can donate there as well. One of the things I want to ask you too, before as we start to segue and get into City Market, and please let us know if the audio is good. If there's any problems with the audio, just shoot us a comment up there. We'll be trying to pay attention to the comments, and then we also trying to have conversations. But one of the things that I think is very important to tell people is, what is it that brought you out to become involved with the struggle to end police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice in Rockford, Illinois, and when was it that you came out?
I like many people on the news, even this is how early this was. It was even before it was actually on Facebook. I watched a news clip, and what got me involved immediately, it was no question, no hesitation. When I saw the video from May 30th, it had to be within 24 to 48 hours. When I saw the women and children with their hands up in the air, and I saw the police advance them, and the police were not verbalizing any order of dispersal. You could clearly see that video. Anyone could go back and watch the video. You do not hear an order of dispersal. You hear people saying, what do they want us to do? What do they want us to do? Do they want us to stand here? Do they want us to lay down? People are attempting to scramble to comply. This is the evening video. And there were children and women were the predominant mass of this group. Mm-hmm. And the police began to advance them, and people for fear stood there, completely stricken with fear. And I started to hear people, just the young voices of people screaming, mm-hmm. because they were being pepper sprayed. Yep. I believe they were being sprayed. Yep. Instantly, I made that decision because I said,
actually, in the end, too, I believe that was a video where they got tased at the
end. Yeah, that's right. They were being tased. They're being tased. Yep. And to hear it left an impression on me because I could still hear these children's screams. Yep. Just like when you watch videos of Iraq or Palestine or Saudi Arabia or any other nation, and then you see tyranny, when you hear a child scream and the confusion and the fear, it's very clear. It's very clear when you look at the scenario. You're looking at the innocence of a child, and then you're watching an adult impact that innocence.
Yeah.
They're scarring them. They're traumatizing them.
And by the state, not by like just a civilian. You know, it's
Exactly.
important to point out that
And-
it's the state that is doing this.
literally,
it's the government that is
Exactly.
Destroying the innocence.
The
of these
moment I
people.
watched that video, and I'm sure politicians want to polish that and give explanations and reasons,
Yep.
and I'm tired of hearing reasons. I can go back and watch videos of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Huey Newton, and the pattern was politicians always had an excuse or reasoning for why the brutality existed. But that moment was the moment I decided to be fully, unapologetically invested, because I've lived in Rockford for up to 8 years. I'm self-employed. I'm actually a business owner. Just to set the scenario, before COVID hit, I was already talking with the SBA and the Chamber of Commerce on a project that's estimated to be about $20 million. So I'm not just some random guy. I'm a business owner, public speaker, social activist. None of that came out while I came down here because it was never about what I had as a background or where I came from or even who I was. It was to get directly involved in something that Rockford needs desperately now, which is change. The key that let me know that I was on the right track is the police in Rockford, the police, sheriff's department, and parks department all acknowledged a level of brutality that they all have. But if you notice, the pattern is they all seek a justification of it. Now, on a political level and dealing with the police force, not a single group has come forward to say this is what we need to do to reform ourselves. That's how you know something's wrong here.
Let me just interject there too, and I think that. Oh, excuse me. And then I think that I have a question I want to ask you too, but I think that you made a great point with that last sentence about the lack of in this area, lack of even saying that they should do some type of reform. Because as one of the things that we stand for, strongly here at the May 30th Alliance is revolution, not reform. The fact that, the system can't be reformed. You can't reform people who are slaves, reform an institution of slave catching. But it is important to note that before we can get to revolution, reform will be something that happens in pieces. The body cameras is a version of reform and some type of a piece. But so when you see an area like Winnebago County fight so much against certain, even admitting to the fact that certain things need to be reformed, and I think we can even go deeper than just saying reforming of police, because an argument could be made that here they are hinting around the fact that they would reform the police, or that maybe there needs to be some type of police reformation. However, you don't hear that same type of reformation for cry for reformation for mass incarceration or for how the jail is when you start talking about Winnebago County. So, and then also you don't hear that same type of cry for reformation when we start talking about the culture of the city, when we talk about racial injustice, and there's no cry for reformation from this institution from at the top, when the mayor won't even address police shootings, and so even though he may say on Mondays at a city council that they're getting body cameras because they want to release video footage, or because they want to have transparency and start on reformation and build this relationship with the community, the truth of the matter is he may have said that this Monday that just passed, but 4 Mondays ago, after Jose Gonzalez Jr. was shot, he wouldn't even have a press conference to say this man's name. He wouldn't even take the time to try to reach out to this young man's family and speak to this man's family. The same thing for and then it's important to point out that I'm almost 100% sure he reached out to the families of the people who were shot in Don Carter. I can almost guarantee you he reached out to those people's families.
There was an immediate response.
Immediately. And so that shows that he can do that. And then also the same thing, Denzel Duvant. He has never even addressed Denzel Duvant. And then same thing when it comes to Tyrus Jones. And then when we come to some of the things that happened at City Market last year that he didn't address. And so even though there may be this phrase of reformation that they are trying to do for the police department or some things like that. Even though I'll make the argument that they haven't even truly done leaned into that. Ma, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to say lastly that the reformation of the other two entities, the other two, it's a triple-headed monster, and the other two, the heads of the monster, mass incarceration and racial injustice, are things that they haven't even glossed over in this area. And so I'm gonna give the mic back to you and let you speak, and then I'm gonna ask you a few questions here. So here you go. Let me respond to that.
There are a couple points that I want to get to because I think initially a lot of people thought I was just the muscle, the guy with the binoculars, the guy with the beret. That I was just theatrics. There's nothing theatrical about me. Everything that you see is real. Everything that I did out here in these streets, as far as placing myself between people that meant protesters bodily harm. None of that was fake or staged. That's what I decided to do and place myself in that scenario because right is right. I mean, fundamentally, there is a right and wrong here. It's not a gray area of is this right or not. We all have the right to our First Amendment right. And there isn't a single person that has a right to trump that and take it away from someone else because of what they feel or what they think. And in many instances, I saw people going from speaking to all out, on the verge of physical harm. Mm-hmm. But then to not see them being dealt with or reprimanded, that was my issue the whole time. Mm-hmm. That if you are supposedly a neutral party or a party that's there to de-escalate.
Right. And to be clear, right now, I'm gonna have to go get that battery. And to be clear, right now, Kay is referencing some of the events that took place at City Market last year. I want to let you go ahead and keep referencing that, but when I come back, just to let you know, I want to ask you to speak on some of the events that took place this past Friday at the City Market. So go ahead.
There were just a few small points that I wanted to make in regards to the questions that you made. I have yet to see any major press conference. I know they had a roundtable discussion with the mayor, Chief O'Shea, and other representatives sat there, and members of the public were allowed to go in. I don't feel it went far enough. I still don't feel it went far enough, and I feel that there should be more of them, given the fact that it's undeniable that the black community is policed by the police. It is a constant vigil of policing. It's so many suburban Americans get so detached from that as a fact because it's not in their community. They drive through areas, but they don't live in areas. There's a vast difference. The same areas that police get their pensions and retirements and get badges and get medals and get rewarded, those same streets are the same streets that children and families live on. But there's such a vast detachment and disassociation in Rockford of the black community's plight in the city at large. And I do want to, the point to what you were making earlier, coming from another city that's further ahead, further along than Rockford. Rockford is literally in a time warp on a political level. Rockford is roughly 40 to 60 years behind other major cities in America. This is a fact. If you're raised here, you wouldn't necessarily notice it, but there's no black here. There's no Latino infrastructure here. A couple of businesses here or there that you can count on one hand is not an infrastructure. That's not a coincidence. That's by design. What do I mean by that? The Justice Center being placed downtown is literally it is literally on a business level. And anyone could search this information out to see that I'm not making this up, that it's not my opinion, because I know when you deal with social media, you got a lot of people in the comments that say, well, that's what you think. I just said I was a businessman. I just said that I'm trying to bring a business here that's estimated at least the full contract is starting contract is roughly $20 million for the city. So it's not I'm not just a black businessman. I'm a businessman trying to help bring business to Rockford, but at the same time I want to see Rockford grow. I want to see Rockford go forward, but I want to see a solid base for the black community. Now, the Justice Center, with it being placed strategically in the middle of the downtown, it was very bizarre and awkward. They had a chance to put it somewhere else. But what the average citizen doesn't realize is with building it downtown, Fortune 300 and Fortune 500 businesses have a certain radius where they will not build and invest. So whoever took the backdoor deals on the Justice Center, they're trying to make it seem like, well, it's the black community that's making these Fortune 300 and 500 businesses not want to come downtown. It's not. You could go anywhere in America within a certain radius of any penal institution. Fortune 300 and Fortune 500 businesses will not build there. Everyone in America is familiar with Attica. Attica is in the middle of a cornfield. One of the most notorious prisons in America. They didn't build Attica. I want those that are watching, I want you to understand this point. Attica was not built in the downtown of the city that it's in. It was put off to the side for that reason. It's because the infrastructure of the city was not dependent on incarceration. It was dependent on building the city. It was based on the universities. It was based on what they valued the most. Any city, when you look at the framework of what a city's fabric or its foundation is, you look at what they value the most. If it's college, if they're known to be a college town, you'll see the caliber of the colleges in that town, and they take pride in that. But also, like Rockford, if it's known to be an incarceration town, they take pride in what they build. In other cities in America, you go to Boston, you know, if you say certain college names, which are college towns, Yale, Harvard, Princeton, those towns, those cities made a direct effort to focus on education as the backbone of that community. Yeah. And that's where they draw their revenue. Rockford, with this Justice Center, made, and I want everyone to understand this, Rockford made the decision to make incarceration its moniker, its emblem, its focus of this is how you define our city. Now, they can argue that all day, but there's a reason why the casino is not downtown. It won't be downtown. It would never be downtown. There's a hotel downtown that the city basically begged and gave them tax breaks to build. It's a write-off to everyone that built that. It's a write-off. If no one ever sleeps in that place, it's a write-off for everyone involved. It was a couple of construction jobs, and if no one ever sleeps there, it doesn't really matter. Now you have the casino being built with the clock towers. I'm surprised that the general community is not asking why. It's because of the footprint of the Justice Center. Now, I'm not trying to get off topic. What I'm talking about is the framework of the city that we're in. Right. The city that we're in has made a decision to make incarceration its main and primary focus. And because it's a monetized industry in Rockford, how can the politicians here, as well as the police force and the Parks District and the Sheriff's Department, talk about justice when they know that when you start talking about incarceration and monetizing human beings, you're talking about profit margins. You're not talking about justice. You're talking about quotas. You're talking about ticket quotas. You're talking about repo quotas. You're talking about routine stops. You're talking about all these. And then the insult to injury is you have people protesting against police brutality, excessive force, and racial profiling, all to be met with more police force.
And let me, on that note, you actually ended that perfectly. And I think those are some of the things that you just touched on right there. Some of the things that you just touched on right there are a lot of the reasons that I think it's important for you to speak that perspective that you have when it comes to the, like you said, the footprint of the city, when it comes to mass incarceration and the way that the country profits off mass incarceration, and looking deeper into some of those things. I think that's a very unique perspective that you bring that I think is very important to the message, and is very important to get across to people. So I'm happy that you touched on that and gave a little bit of insight on that. I'm sure as we continue to have these dialogues, and as we continue to go forward in the spring and the summer, that'll be something that people can come and get that perspective from you a lot more, and we can get deeper into some of that. But I like how you transition and segue that into how people came out to protest against police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, and were met with police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. So I would like to ask you about what was your personal experience like at this city market that just passed on Friday? For anybody who may not know, I was not at City Market that just passed this Friday. I was not present. I had court at 2:00 that day. My bond was raised, and I was taken and remanded into custody. Eventually, very thankful for the community. The community helped to, and along with accordance with the May 30th Alliance organizers, helped to raise funds to get me out of jail. And I'm very appreciative of that. But one of the byproducts of me being arrested and being inside of the Winnebago County Jail as the first city market of this season took place, was that I was not present there. So I can't really relay over, and this is one of the things that we want to do regularly, is we want to relay over the things that we experienced on Fridays on City Market throughout the week coming up. To garner more people to come out. We want to continue to build numbers as these city markets unfold. To give directly our experience and our information to people, so that way they're not getting it second and third hand. And then to try to make correlations between the things that take place at City Market on Friday to the greater issues that we deal with in this city on a daily basis. And so let me ask you, what was your experience like at the City Market on Friday?
Just as a first-hand account, and this is another speaks to your initial question when you asked me why did I get involved. I got involved because I didn't want to. I wanted to get past any sound bites, any spin, any politics, and I wanted to see for myself. I wanted to be involved every step of the way, unfiltered, and literally be involved, get involved. What I saw personally, because I came down earlier and they left and they came back. Most of the protesters had already gone down. I walked through in plain clothes earlier, just in regular clothes, and got a sense of. I wanted to get a sense of the crowd before I came down and wore my all black. And just in regular clothes, I walked through. The crowd could have been more, but it rained. It rained earlier, but there was. It was a large crowd. I would say obviously it was expected, but there was a huge police presence as well as Metro.
How many would you say? Was it? Do you think it was? It was not. Wasn't it from? And I've talked to a few people, seen a few pictures. It wasn't as much as it was last year.
It wasn't as much as what we saw at the end of last year.
Right. Okay.
But last year it was a whole. It was a perfect storm as a cash cow for the city directly, along with the police department, to spend $500,000 on a 3-block area. Literally, any one of you can look this up. They spent $500,000 on overtime alone last year.
We would say
it was more than that.
It was more than that.
It
was
yeah.
higher.
It could have possibly been $600
million. I would estimate it might have been by the time. Let me see. By the time that they got to the end of the fiscal year and to the end of, may have went to $1 million, because it would be times when we did the occupation where they would have excessive officers here.
9 cars,
10 cars, 100. And then even now with the memorials where they have 9, 10 cars coming here. So nobody really, we never will know how much actual
So for the
excess.
fiscal year, it's possible it could have reached $1 million. And I know for a fact by the time City Market was over, because I had this confirmed by officers, it reached $500,000 by the last City Market. This was overtime. The people I don't know if people are questioning why the amount of money. It was because they never blocked off the bridge or the street. They never blocked it off. The first two,
But we don't know that for sure. Why
Right.
they, well, I mean, one of the I think that,
Right.
and not to disagree, but not
Right.
and then again, this is one of the reasons that we are having
Right.
that we have these lives and that we have these dialogues to give people some of the different perspectives and give people some of the insight into the dialogue and the conversations that we do have, and that is something that me and you have both had our conversations about and have sort of maybe different understandings or different beliefs about, which is natural with all of these things. And is I think that they were determined no matter what to spend, once the die-in started earlier and they realized that they could just, give, 10, 15 cops overtime and just have them sit in their cars and watch as people march down the street. I think that they decided early on that was something that they were going to do. And I think that, they used what was going on nationally to justify it. And so even though they may say that they were using officers to shut the bridge down, or say that the reason that they had to have more police officers out there was because of the dangers presented on the street, they were going to find an excuse to have the officers out there no matter what.
Saying the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I mean, initially the first two city markets, there were roughly 6 officers.
Yep, exactly.
They rerouted the traffic. There were 6 officers on hand. Basically, one officer redirected the traffic at the end of the bridge near District and one right at the city market. And then after that, it just changed. And then you had the Parks Department, Sheriff's Department, Rockford RPD. And I think the last 2, if not last 3 city markets, there were roughly 30 to 40 officers on hand at any given time, which still there was no direct correlation because it was basically the same group of people coming back every week.
Right.
But you kept seeing this excessiveness and this overblown. Well, what if it gets? I had never been struck so. This is a personal perspective. This is not someone telling me this. I had never heard so many officers say, "What if?" or "possibly." So they're already making assumptions with no founding basis, no factual evidence to lead them to say, "If A, then B." Well, what if this happened or this could happen? And I'm thinking, well, it just didn't make sense to put yourself in a situation based on what you're seeing and to ignore what you're seeing to talk about what if.
Yeah.
But my take on this city market specifically, the energy that I felt, because the footprint is extremely bigger. It's vastly different. The entire bridge, everything that I was told personally was impossible. That was the word that I was told multiple times by people in the city hall, by state's attorney's office. It was impossible to close down the bridge. It was impossible to close down East State up to Madison. It was impossible. It wasn't that we'll see what we can do or we'll try. I was told it could not be done, and that's why it wasn't done. But now you look at the footprint. The bridge is closed off every Friday.
Yep, and it ain't
every Friday.
How much stuff was on that bridge? How much was it? A bunch of vendors? Was it a bunch of things on the bridge?
There were vendors leading to the exit point where you come into City Market. The vendors were there, but it didn't extend down the bridge.
But it did,
the bridge was just completely shut down.
Shut down. Okay.
All the way up past Madison to the block further up.
And then what about that other block further up? Did they have vendors and things there?
It was
like like CJ's to this corner right here on First.
That was basically open air.
But it was shut down.
The street was shut down, but all of the shops
nothing was there,
had their doors open.
Right.
That was for the foot traffic.
Right, and then I think, and I asked those questions. I guess if this was a court of law, they would say I was leading. But I asked those questions because I do know that the answer to those, because we've talked already before, that the answer to those is that there was not very many things on the bridge, and it definitely was not enough stuff on the bridge to justify shutting down the bridge. There was not anything at all from the corner of CJ's up to this corner where Fred's Shop and Salvaged is at and Rockford Art Deli is at. Nothing there at all, just the street shut down. And we all know, anybody who is paying attention and who is competent or, wants to be intellectually competent. We all know the reason that the bridge was shut down and that the other piece of the street of East State was shut down, and that's because anywhere that we made our presence felt last year, they shut down out of fear of the power that we have wielded. Every place that we stepped at, every place that we had a presence at, any place that we used to get our message out, or any place that we used to draw awareness, or any place that we used for disruption, all of those, any place they shut down because of the fact that they could not. Because last year they gave a set of rules, right? They gave us 10 lists, said that let's just say they gave us 10 things for the rules. We beat them with those rules. And once we beat them with those rules, instead of just continuing on with the same set of rules throughout the event, and just understanding that we were exercising rights that are ours by birth. Me and you personally, argument could be made ours through death right, not even a birthright, through a death right. People being born did not endow us with those rights. People had to die for us to, and and we still don't even truly have them, or else we wouldn't be sitting here right now doing some of these things. Exactly. Instead of just accepting that we have the right to do these things, and we can, and trying to find a way to coexist, like has happened at Food Truck Tuesdays, they fought it every tooth and nail, every inch of the way, to the point that now they have just shut down any area we have been at, even though they have nothing to put in the areas. If I was a business on this street, I don't know how someone can make the argument that the protests were more detrimental to businesses on the street than them shutting this whole street down. Like, this can be more detrimental to businesses on the street. I just can't fathom how somebody can make that argument. Again, because we don't have 2,000 protesters or 300 protesters or 200 protesters. But it shows you the fear they have of the numbers building. It shows you the fear they have of just the numbers that we have currently in this moment. The fact that they bring 15 police officers out here to tear down memorials at 4 a.m. when it's 2 people here, 3 people here. It just lets you know the level of intimidation and fear that they have of the power that we are building, that we have continuously built. When they tore down the memorials just recently this week, and it is power in getting these things to be seen within Rockford and outside of Rockford, and they've seen that we are hitting those check marks. That the interactions and engagement on social media is rising. The word of mouth, people talking about these things, is rising as the spring and the summer gets here and the weather starts to break, and people start coming outside more. People see us. Our presence is felt on East State Street and downtown, and so the fear of those things happening is what's leading racists like Jay Hanley and racists like Kathy McDermott and racists like Tom McNamara and Todd Cagnoni to go to some of these lengths and extents to try to stop us, because of the inherent fear they have of the status quo and the status quo in this city is white nationalism changing. Yes, go ahead.
Like I said earlier, Rockford is 40 to 60 years behind other major cities in America, especially when you talk about the North. There are many instances. Like I said, people wouldn't notice it if they were born here, white or black, because this is what they're in the fishbowl. It's like trying to tell a fish, "Hey, do you know you're breathing water?" The fish is gonna say, "Huh?" He doesn't know anything else.
You gotta let me know what kind of weed you smoking that got you talking to fish.
But I'm just playing with you. The fish doesn't know the environment it's in, so when you're trying to discuss what it's breathing, it can't fathom the concept because that's all it knows. So when you're like, you have to break down water to it. In Rockford, people don't understand the inherent structure, the fabric of the white supremacist ideology. It is an ideology that is taught. It is regurgitated in the courtrooms and the systems. It is an ideology that you feel as a person of color and as a person who is not of color. You feel it because you can feel the social hierarchy of, I'll say it, the best way I can say it is this: white supremacy. The foundational belief of white supremacy is not to uplift the white race. It is to subjugate every non-white race below the white race. I'm going to say that again. It's not the uplifting of white people. It is the subjugation or the bringing down of every non-white race and pushing them down.
That's true. No, you in a bag. You in a bag.
So,
that's a fact.
For me, my take when I'm looking at this ideology, you see the stance of the police where Their stance to the community is it's us against them. And I'm thinking, no, if you really understood what this was about, you would have had a press conference and say, hey, let's sit down and talk. Let us reason together.
Yeah, right.
Well, you're talking about excessive force, police brutality, and racial profiling. My point is, none of them ever denied it. Anyone in Rockford can understand what I'm saying. They did not deny that these things exist. They just never confronted them. They never denied, well, it doesn't exist. Well, where are the stats? Where's the evidence? They never said that because they know it's here. It's the confrontation of it is why City Market is, the layout of the map is the way that it is. Or just the intent to confront the protesters, forgetting that they're taxpayers, citizens.
No, not even just forgetting, not caring.
Not caring that they're taxpayers or citizens, or that many of them are in college. Many of them have children. Many of them have wives, families that they're trying to raise in this community. Many of them have lost their jobs.
Right. No. Yeah, I think that.
Many people have sacrificed a lot to stand up for what is right.
No, yes, I think that is one of the things that I'm sure that people who are on the outside looking in probably can't really disseminate as well as us who are on the inside of this, who see the everyday traumas that people that are involved in this are dealing with, who see the personal effects that the personal consequences, the personal sacrifices that we have all had to make on a regular basis. And I think that, I think that, and that is one of the reasons why I think it's important for us to have these dialogues and have these conversations and put this information out to explain these things to people, to galvanize more people to understand that they have it within them to make those same sacrifices, that to let them know that they have it within them to find at what level they can exist and at what level they can wage the revolution. That's one of the things I tell people all the time, that we have to wage the revolution in the levels in which we exist. And some people's levels is not coming to City Market. And then some people's level is coming to City Market, and their level is not participating in the occupation at City Hall. Some people's level of participation is marching when we march in the streets. Some people's level of participation is we did the ongoing teach-in. They came out and they read during the ongoing teach-in. Some people's level of participation is sharing things on social media and watching things on social media, or seeing us when we did the ongoing teach-in, we were reading certain books and they went out and purchased those books and read those books, or recommended those books to people, or recommended video lives or conversations and things like that we've had to people.
Well, I may say,
yeah, go ahead.
When you talk about participation, I want people to understand it's not just participation in protesting. Look at it in this manner: participating in the evolution and revolution of your city.
Yeah.
Participating in the state of this city to grow. Perfect example is this: if you're late leaving your driveway to go to work, you could speed, you could blow through red lights, but at the end of the day, you're already late. Being less late doesn't make you on time. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Being you're going to be 15 minutes late. Right. The fact that you walk through the door 10 minutes late doesn't make you on time. It just makes you less late. I'm using that in context of Rockford. Rockford is 40 to 60 years behind other major cities.
Yeah.
When you deal with police, when you deal with just the level of prejudice, racism, institutionalized racism.
Yeah.
So for school system. So for people now to talk about the gains that Rockford is making, all I hear in my head is you're just less late.
Yeah. No,
you're not on time.
That's true.
Because you're kicking and screaming as a city to move forward when people are desperately saying, listen, can this end now? This needs to end now.
Yeah.
We need this to end now.
Yeah.
And then you have people say, well, can we negotiate how this ends or the terms?
Yeah.
How? At what point in America does it make sense to discuss how to shoot black people less and then consider that a win?
Talk to him.
To shoot black people. Well, we don't really want to change all of it, right. But we'll move this here so that you'll get less of it.
Yeah.
I can't give it all to you.
Right.
But you'll get less of it.
Right. No, that's and too at the end. One of the things is, that's been too often that's been a compromise that we as a people have made is instead of the full eradication of a form of oppression is just accepting it happening 10% less, or accepting it instead of a full eradication of a form of oppression, just accepting it being less brutal, or instead of a full eradication of a form of oppression, accepting that a few black people will now participate in the oppressing. We'll take 10% of the black people that's being oppressed, let them be oppressors, and then we'll throw 5% white people, 3% Hispanic, and 2% Asian people to deal with the extra room for oppression. And for too often, that has been something that, for whatever reason, there have been black people who have participated in, who have decided to be take that tokenism on. And I think one of the things that I'm trying, and I think that we as an organization are trying and working on as well, is getting to a place of we don't want. I'm not. I hate when people, and I don't like to use the word hate either, but it's a time and a place for everything. And I hate when people frame what is criticism of somebody as an attack on somebody. Right. I think you can criticize somebody and not attack somebody, and I think you can attack somebody and not even criticize them. I think that is a thing too. Right. And so when I'm critical of when I'm critical of black people who have participated in these institutions and participated in tokenism, I do that from a standpoint of criticizing and saying and challenging, and struggling with our brothers and sisters who, for some reason, have decided to neglect the collective community and focus on their individuality. And I think that, and I'll let you go right after this too. And I want to point out that I do think that there is great gains to be made from individualism. There are good parts of individualism, just like there are. We shouldn't completely eradicate people being individuals and people being their own people and having their own mind and their own beliefs. But we must also understand that individualism should not be used as a weapon against collectivism, and that is what has happened too often in our community. Is that yes, 100%. Individualism has been used as a weapon against the collective of black people. Individual, even this concept of black excellence that is spoken about a lot, that has been used as a weapon against black people. Well, hey, look at this black man. Look, he overcame this. He overcame being black in America. He overcame poverty in America. He overcame the community that he came from. He overcame educational barriers. He overcame these things. How come you can't? How come they can't? How come y'all can't? If he can do it, it's proof that it can be done. He worked. Look how hard he worked. You just got to work as hard as he worked. He worked 10 times as hard. You black. You got to work 10 times as hard. Instead of and that's been used against all the black people who can't do it, Exactly. And I think what we have to start doing is getting to a point into a place where the individuals in our community who exude that excellence, who exude that greatness, who exude that potential, that they don't allow that to be used against the community or against the people who have not had the opportunity to exude that excellence, who have it within them, who have not had the opportunity to exude that greatness, who still have it within them. And the reason that they have it within them and have not unlocked it and have not had the opportunities usually is because of the institutions that some of these black people with that excellence choose to work for, or choose to work with, or choose to coordinate with, to choose to conspire with. And that is how we get into this place in which 5% of the black community may be able to overcome certain hurdles or overcome certain pieces of oppression, but then they partake in pushing that oppression onto the other 95% that can't overcome it. And hey, I'll let you respond.
Well, you make a valid point, because even when you talked about black excellence, I've been in business for over 20 years myself, self-employed, have a huge reputation in the city that I came from. Dealt with the mayor directly. He's an African-American gentleman. He deals with me on a first-name basis. first name. Doesn't call me by my last name.
Yeah.
That's how deeply I was invested in the community,
Right.
in the mayor,
Yeah.
in that community.
Yeah.
I was a social activist there as well,
Right.
as well as a businessman. So to come to Rockford, I went back in time. So what the perspective I have is I'm seeing the baby steps that Rockford is doing. I saw this stuff 20, 25 years ago,
Right.
and it was still more advanced than Rockford, because Rockford's 40 to 60 years.
Right. Right.
So the baby steps that I have a deeper understanding of the regentrification of the attempts of what are going to be done in the near future.
Oh yes, you can see
For
it.
Rockford.
You can see it happening.
Even with the disenfranchisement of the African American community here, and to strategically place District 1, Justice Center, and other police stations in certain areas.
All three police districts in this city are strategically placed next to public
Exactly.
housing.
And then again, getting back to, this is not about justice. This is about quotas, and this is about monetizing
Exactly.
the beds.
Talk to 'em.
The empty beds in the Justice Center are
Talk to 'em.
monetized.
Talk to 'em.
That's a penalty.
Talk to
Only
'em.
in America can you deal with jails where
to 'em.
they're penalized for having empty beds.
Talk to them.
When they built the Justice, anyone that's
back.
watching this, you need to understand. They knew how many beds that place has for maximum occupancy. Remember that phrase, maximum occupancy. Do you honestly think they built a place that large so that the crime rate would drop?
No.
So
No.
that the crime rate would
Tell
drop
'em.
and they'd have to cut 25% of the officers and get rid of the SUVs
Tell
and
'em.
give the guns back
Tell 'em.
and send these officers to other districts and other locations?
Tell 'em.
No. There's a reason why they all drive around in SUVs and not in cars.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they have, semi-automatic weapons and riot gear and all this excessive, this excessive items in the price tag.
Yep.
I've never seen a police force. I can speak directly here. I've never seen locally Rockford RPD ever give money back to the city by saying we didn't have to spend it this year.
No, of course not.
We got $1 million to give back to you because we didn't. And by the way, we had to cut 10% of the police force. It's not a trend that they want here.
No.
And I think
I think that I think that in saying that, and I want to get back to you, let you keep on going with that. But I do want to point out just a few of the things to refer back to what it is that you were saying earlier about them creating the jail with the understanding that they have to fill the jail. They make the jail to fill the jail.
The intent
that with the intent to fill the jail.
That was always the intent,
yeah.
because they could have.
And I think
What people need to understand, the architecture of that building, they could have discussed early on a lower number.
Yeah.
But they decided on a number because if you realize the demographic of who gets trucked in,
Yeah.
it's not just people from Rockford.
No, yeah, it's a county jail,
They're coming from everywhere.
And one of the things that's important about that too is and I'm gonna give it back to you, so you can keep going. But I just want to point out a few things historically for people who may not know. And this was something that I learned that they had the jail that was here in the city previously. That was the county jail previously was at over occupancy, and that was them. A lot of people speak about how they forced the old jail to become at over occupancy, so that way they could build the new jail, and they could put more beds into the new jail, and they could say, well, we have to have more beds. Look how many they're overflowing at this other jail. I was told that at the old jail it was 3 people to a cell towards the end, a person on the top bunk, a person on the bottom bunk, and then a person that slept on the floor of the jail. And so when you understand, and so when you hear those things, you understand that crime is profitable in Winnebago County. Crime is profitable in Rockford. Crime is profitable in America. And it's not only just profitable for the people who they cast as the criminals, but it's also profitable for the people that they cast as the good guys, for the people that they cast as the heroes, for the people that they cast as peace officers. That you have to understand that just as much as whoever the top drug dealer in any city may be invested in crime and trying to keep drugs running in the streets. Whoever is the chief of police is invested in crime continuing to run and drugs being pushed on the streets. And that's something that for a lot of people, they can't fathom that. They can't understand that. And I'm sure that if you took every individual police chief and took him outside of his uniform and talked to him by himself, the things he would say would not be things that had the connotations that he wanted the biggest drug dealer in the city to keep pushing cocaine, or he wanted the biggest gangs in the city to continue to participate in violence. I'm sure individually, alone in the conversation, the things that he would say is that he wants to put an end to gun violence, wants to put an end to drugs being sold on the streets, and that's why he's doing the job that he's doing to try to help people. But the fact remains that when you look, once he puts that uniform back on and he goes back into the police district he works at, and sends his officers back on the streets, and his officers go and arrest people and put them into the system, and the system of mass incarceration, what happens is that the policies that they do that by are inherently racist, are inherently biased, and they're written in a way to continue the people who get caught into the system to stay in the system, so that way the system can profit off of them. And so he becomes part of that system by being the chief of police. He buys into the profitability of crime by being the chief of police, by being at the head of an institution which is not in the city to try to implement the end of crime, but is in the city to implement a type of system for the crime to take place.
Absolutely.
A type of system for the crime to happen in, sort of just like guiding the crime in some type of a way, not trying to end the crime, not trying to focus on the root issues, the things that actually cause crime, only dealing with the effects, with the understanding that as long as they only deal with the effects, as long as they push to the community that the thing that needs to be addressed is the effects, and they never deal with the causes and the root issues, that people will continue to be addicted to drugs, people will continue to join gangs, people will continue to use violence to respond to violence when you don't deal with the causes of the violence, when you don't deal with the root issues that lead to the violence. And racial injustice is one of the major root issues. Poverty in this country is one of the major root issues. The materialism that is pushed in this country is one of the major root issues. The lack of true education, and instead of training, what they give our children in these schools, what we were given in these schools and these institutions is training and not education. We're pushed narratives and we're not told history. And so these are all the things that lead to people growing up and people choosing crime, or choosing outlets of crime, or having opportunities and outlets of crime presented to them at early ages, and that gets them into the system of mass incarceration. And once they're in that system, they're a dollar sign, they're a number, and these, whether it be the jail or the police, the police. Law enforcement, they become incentivized to continue to keep this person in this system, and they continue to profit off of this person. And I wanted you to respond to some of those things.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, for the Justice Center to be built, people need to understand. They knew, the politicians that were in place at that time, they knew that the amount of beds was the projection. So in a twisted way, they knew that tearing down the old one, taking follow the logic on this, taking all the people that were in the old one, then now at this point it's being pushed to its capacity to justify the new one. The new one has a significantly higher number of beds. So what is that saying about their projection of Rockford?
It's gonna get worse. Yeah.
But yet these are the elected officials. I want people to understand that they had the opportunity of a lifetime to literally put Rockford on a path that it's still not on right now. And it has nothing to do with Mayor McNamara. It has nothing to do with him. This train is already on a track because of that place being built.
It's got something to do with him because he's been hit.
Well, I'm saying that the train was already on this track.
He was an alderman when that train was getting on the track. He was an alderman. He was an alderman for 8 years, I believe. Maybe even more than that, but he was at least. But 8 years.
What I'm saying overall, the momentum of this train is even bigger than him.
Oh no, it is bigger than him. It is bigger than him.
Because
You're right.
you have the police force involved. You have the politicians, whether they feel that they're involved or not, whether they're aldermen or people in the other positions for the city. It's so deeply entrenched in the literally the DNA of this city that Rockford can't get away from the fact that the Justice Center is at the core, and the irony of the name, the Justice Center. But that building is at the core of the energy and the push of what is being deemed justice and injustice. Because when you're talking about quotas, and I want to preface this to people that may feel, don't even bother commenting saying, well, this guy's just talking out the side of his mouth here. He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
And just so people know, we ban any racist or egregious crazy comments. The May 30th Alliance will ban you. So,
well, what I want to say, obviously I would leave these officers to be anonymous because their names aren't as important as the context of what they shared with me. Now, I had officers share with me last year while I was down here. I had officers not even just down here, just in general in Rockford, telling me that they joined the police force because they wanted to make a change from within. They wanted to really help fight crime. You think about it. If you're truly effectively fighting crime should be diminishing. You shouldn't have conferences and press conferences about increasing the police force, increasing the budget, growing everything, because to me that's a sign of a failing city, not a progressive city. And you can see the disconnect in Rockford where they keep talking about more police and bigger budgets and more money for sensitivity training and more money for this and more money for that and more vehicles and an extra $3 million. That's not a sign of a progressive city, because Rockford could potentially be a college town. But again, you deal with the focus and the foundation or the defining aspects of a city. Rockford's not defining itself by the colleges that are here. It's defining itself by the incarceration institutions that it has, because of the money being generated and the profit margins that's been generated from the county. Rockford made a decision. This is cause and effect. Again, there's a reason why I believe that's a $40 million project. There's a reason why there's a hotel downtown, but the hotel was specifically built to cater to the BMO, the BMO Harris, but also, follow the logic or the lack thereof, also built specifically to cater to the patrons of a casino that's 5 to 7 miles away that's slated to be built. There's a complete disconnect. And that's why I'm saying to you, to those that start investigating this and start holding your city accountable. Rockford put a nail in the coffin of its own future by focusing on incarceration as a focal point. But then again, you look at America at large. White supremacist ideology is what founded this country. America was not founded on Christianity, and people need to really come to terms with what America was founded on. It was not founded on Christianity. America was founded on the principles and ideology of white supremacy. It was founded on that. And people that argue otherwise, I didn't see them baptizing Native Americans in the lakes and rivers here. They were slaughtering them. Why? Because of white supremacist ideology. So getting to the foundation and the thrust of the politics in Rockford, the ideology is present in Rockford. To make incarceration a focal point, again, you're dealing with the disenfranchised, the poorest of the poor in society, and then you monetize them. What was slavery? You're monetizing another human being, but you're devaluing their life, devaluing their humanity, and then monetizing them as a human being to uplift the standard and quality of life for someone else. It's no different than the incarceration in Rockford. It's devaluing, dehumanizing these individuals. Well, those are the bad guys. But then it spills over into the community. Who are the undesirables? It's the African American community here. There's no black infrastructure because there was never a priority to inject money into that community. It was never a priority to put the necessary funds, or even on a bank level, the city negotiating low interest rate loans for revitalization for businesses, or the banks working with the city for first time home buyers. I'm using all this to paint a picture that there's substance to what I'm saying. The history of Rockford never had an agenda at large to address revitalization of the black community. It always utilized and leveraged the monetization of the black community through incarceration. Now, as far as the protesting, if you're in the clergy, if you're just someone that's concerned about coming down and saying, what can I do? Understand that the technicality of being a protester is simply this. If you are speaking out in regards to this matter, if you are verbalizing your concern for this matter, that would be considered protesting. Excuse me. But also if you're holding a sign. Why am I saying this specifically? Because if you literally came down to City Market, based on the federal understanding of what protesting is, if you came down to City Market in solidarity with the protesters and just stood there to say, I will be representative of another body. And I'm just saying hypothetically, you came down, you said, what can I do? You came down for the sake of what's right and desiring to see change and wanting to show on a social level that you desire to see change by making your presence felt. You physically being there is just as valuable as those who are saying or holding signs, because at that point you legally would not be considered or referenced to as a protester. You're a bystander. And I'm just throwing that out there for people that say, well, whether it's a job or certain circumstances where they want to get involved, but they don't know, they're concerned about the extent or what they can do or whatever the circumstances are. Just make your presence be felt. Just make your presence be known.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, and
go ahead.
This just came to mind. Now, as far as officers saying that they wanted to make a difference, what I saw was I had officers, and this is just, I've been here 8 years. This is what I've heard from officers in 8 years. Again, this is not hearsay. This is what I've heard directly from officers' mouths off the record, and I would never say their names. Said, I joined the force to make a change. But when I got on the force, what I saw were pie charts and graphs and meetings on numbers. Everything was broken down into numbers, and we're being told that our numbers are down. What's the insinuation? The numbers got to go up. Yep. Numbers on traffic tickets and impounds and incarcerations. They realized that their job was not what they thought it was. It was the monetizing of other human beings. Yeah. And then you had the other officer saying, when you try to speak out against what you see, and I had multiple officers say this to me, when you try to speak out about the injustice that you see because you want to stand for what's right, you get blackballed. You get ostracized.
Yeah, I think that is I think that's a very poignant statement there that you made. I had to try to get a few things cleared up here, but I was listening as you were speaking, and again, this is why I think it's very important for multiple perspectives to be presented. I think it's very important for multiple. As an organization, the May 30th Alliance has an organizational perspective. As an organization, the May 30th Alliance has a ideology, has specific things that collectively, once we're us together, we have a specific ideology, a specific beliefs and things like that. But also individually, we have our own because of our own experiences and our own beliefs and our own education. We bring very specific perspectives to the May 30th Alliance, which then feeds on the May 30th Alliance being what it has become. Each one of us. And I say that to say that some of the things that you were pointing on and the perspectives and the vantage point in which that you were speaking on is why I think it's important for us to continue with different members of the organization to come out and to speak and to communicate about these things and to present people multiple different vantage points so that way people can hear these issues being disseminated in a way that maybe connects better with them. Everybody hears different things differently. If we got a city of 140,000 people, they're not going to all hear the message from me the same way. They won't hear it all from Ari the same way, or from Terry that same way, or from you the same way, or from Rabbit the same way, or the multiple other people who are involved, who hopefully will start being more, that we can start to get to be more vocally involved. Each person will galvanize a different set of people, will make a connection and tap into that empathy with somebody different. And so it becomes important for all of us to come and to speak our experiences and speak about our beliefs and speak about our perspectives and our vantage points to better represent the community, to better represent what this city and what this county looks like, and then in an effort to eventually better represent what this country truly looks like, and what this country truly, the people who truly make this country up and keep this country running, as opposed to the figureheads that too often are pushed, or as opposed to the faces that are too often pushed, which typically are faces of cis straight white men, and they only they're there to push the narrative of those cis straight white men. And so I think that that's one of the things that we are trying to do with building this platform and with having these Facebook lives and Instagram lives and Twitter lives, and then the podcast network that we're creating, and trying to get the YouTube running more. We just made a TikTok too. We got a TikTok. We on TikTok. Trying to do all of those things is to try to show to give voice to the voiceless portions of this community, to give power to the marginalized portions of this community, and to do that through direct action. That is what we represent here. That is what we do here. That is what this occupation is here. It's a direct action. That is what we do at City Market, is a direct action. At Food Truck Tuesdays, it's a direct action, and the manner of that direct action, a lot of that has to do with how many people that we have, and we've been very transparent about the fact that we are not a humongous organization. This is the very beginning of an organization, but we're small, but we're mighty, and I'm very proud of all the people, and I love all the people that are involved, and I wouldn't trade any of these people for anybody else. I wouldn't trade our numbers for anything. I believe that we are in the process of doing and creating something very special here at the May 30th Alliance, and so we're going to get ready to wrap this here up, but I want to give it to you. I want to give this to, again, this is Kay. This is the first live that we've had with Kay speaking, the first of many to come. Again, Kay's been involved with the May 30th Alliance since the inception of it. It's a lot of different conversations that we will get into with Kay, and a lot of things that Kay can shed light on that people probably don't even know from some of the conversations he's had with people, some of the rooms that he's been in with people. I think that Kay single-handedly will put to bed this idea that the May 30th Alliance does not converse with people or have dialogues with people. Kay will single-handedly put to bed the idea that the May 30th Alliance will not enter into rooms with people or go or speak with people or speak with some of whether it be aldermen or the mayor himself, or it be some other people. But again, these are things that we'll get into deeper as we continue to have more of these, and we continue to let the audience meet Kay more and learn about Kay more, just in the same manner that the audience has learned about me and Ari and the city, the nation has learned, about all of us. So what closing words do you have for everybody out there watching?
I did want to put this in perspective. We have the world itself has officially deemed how, and I want everyone to understand this, the world has deemed how American police officers are treating specifically black people and the shooting of innocent, unarmed black people. They've already denounced it and actually have legitimately called it crimes against humanity. So the people that are watching, I want you to understand the context of when you see the protesters, well, how serious is this? Or I think they're making something out of nothing. When you have the international community looking at America and literally calling how our police the streets and how they police black people, and they're calling it specifically in America, not a third world country,
Yeah.
in America, crimes against humanity, that shows you the level of the intensity of what we're dealing with.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. Uh, I think that that's a perfect statement to end this on. We are dealing with crimes against humanity. What has gone on to our people as black people? Me and you both sit here as black men in America. What has happened to our people since before they got here? How that bringing them the manner in which they got over here has been a crime against humanity, and it has been a crime against humanity that has never truly been acknowledged by this nation. It's never truly been any type of effort to give restorative justice for it. There's only been denial and deepening and worsening of those crimes and of those wounds. And this city is a city that is a microcosm of those crimes against humanity. This city, it's a reason why we can put this many memorials up on these light poles. It's a reason why we can be out here and in less than a span of a year, we can have all of these different macro aggressions that have happened to people, whether it be the shooting of Tyrus Jones, the assault of Denzel Duvant, the shooting of Jose Gonzalez Jr., or the murder of Faustin Guaitigo. And it is because police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice run rampant in the city of Rockford. And the May 30th Alliance and myself as a member of the May 30th Alliance and Kay as a member of the May 30th Alliance have decided that there will no longer be business as usual in Winnebago County and in Rockford, Illinois until these things are not only before they can be changed, truly changed, they must truly be addressed. And the job that the May 30th Alliance is doing is forcing this community to truly address these problems, is forcing every citizen in this community to acknowledge these problems, to become conscious and to become cognizant of these problems. And that's why we are at City Market on Friday, if anybody is asking. That is why we are outside of City Hall every day, 24/7, if anybody is asking. It's why we will be at the Food Truck Tuesday, this Tuesday, if anybody is asking. And it is why the occupation must continue, and it is why the demonstrations must continue. We live in a city with 140,000 plus people here. And if you went around, very many people could tell you the name of Michael Brown, but not very many could tell you the name of Michael Sago Jr., Mikey Sago Jr., rest in power to both of those brothers. People could tell you the name of Trayvon Martin, but not that many people could tell you the name of Kerry Blake. Rest in power to both of those brothers. People could tell you the name of Sandra Bland, but people couldn't tell you the name of Geno Washington. And rest in power to that sister and to that brother. And so it becomes our job, it becomes our duty to make sure that this city and this county knows the names of all of these people, knows their stories of all of these people. And then once we've gotten the consciousness raised to those microaggressions, to those macroaggressions that have happened to those people, it becomes our job to then shine the light on the microaggressions that lead up to those macroaggressions. Once we have tapped into that empathy that people have for people who are lives are lost to police terrorism, it becomes our job to force them to tap into that empathy for people who are caught in the system of mass incarceration, and then to tap into the empathy of people who deal with the issues of racial injustice on a daily basis in this city and in this county. And and I truly believe that the things that we are doing in this city and in this county will have reverberating effects in this region and then going on into this nation. And so I do believe that we are doing the work of changing this country. I do believe that we are doing the work of because of how much this country has to do with the tenor of the world. I do believe we are doing the work of changing the world, and I do believe that work is done one day at a time. I do believe that work is done one life at a time. I do believe that work is done one conversation at a time. And so we want to thank you for tuning in to this conversation that we were having, and we want to thank you for helping us change the world with this conversation. I want to again say justice for Denzel Duvant, justice for Jose Gonzalez Jr., justice justice for Faustin Guaitigo, justice for Tyrus Jones, justice for every name that we have on Say Their Name Square. And I want to let people know that on Friday, May 28th, we will be outside of City Market. Please come out. We will start at we're starting at 4 o'clock. I believe City Market starts at 3 o'clock. Oh, excuse me, I believe City Market starts at 1 o'clock. You can come out to City Hall at any point in time. We'll have direction in the place that you can be at. We will be on Tuesday. We will be at Nicholas Conservatory for Food Truck Tuesday. Every day we are, and every hour we are outside of City Hall. We always have a member of the organization here that willing to have conversations with people in the community about experiences that they have had dealing with police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. We want to encourage everybody to please donate to the May 30th Alliance. You can donate at May 30th Alliance. You can donate to the May 30th Alliance at Cash App. If you're doing it on a Cash App, it will be $ May 30th Alliance. Again, that will be $ May 30th Alliance. If you're donating on Cash App, no matter how small or how big the donation is, it is important to us. If you're donating via PayPal or Venmo, it will be May 30th Alliance at protonmail.com. Again, you can also donate in person at City Hall, or you can donate on Tuesdays at Food Truck Tuesday, or you can donate on Friday at City Market Fridays. Please follow us on Facebook. Like us on Facebook if you have not already done those things. Follow us on Instagram and on Twitter, on YouTube. Subscribe on TikTok. Follow us. Again, we just made the TikTok. And so we will be live again from Occupy City Hall tomorrow to continue to speak on these issues. So please continue to tune in and check the page for new videos. Please share this video of anybody who's watching it, whether you're watching it in real time right now or you watch it later on. And we outside. All right, we're going to end it.